a storm is brewing on the horizon here in the U.S. So I think it's smart. Of course, I've been living on and off in Argentina and Uruguay for years, and so I'm already quite well prepared.
Right.
Although I'm speaking to you from Virginia right now at the moment. It's just starting to come true, actually. I mean, we're just entering the trailing edge of the hurricane. And as I like to say, it's going to be much worse and much longer lasting and much different than the unpleasantness of 1929 to 1946. And I hate to sound like I'm crying wolf, because right now everything's hung together with chewing gum and baling wire, helped along by trillions of dollars of new funny money being created. So far, it looks pretty good, but it's not going to look good, I think, in as little as 3 or 6 months.
What do you see from here? Because you saw this years and years ago. We're on the doorstep now. What do you see in the next few years?
Well, it seemed to me that things would go over the edge with the manic bull market of 2000. Then I thought it was going to surely go over the edge with the real estate meltdown of 2008. I didn't give adequate credit to the government's ability to print up trillions of dollars and get away with it. And I didn't give adequate credit to their ability to take interest rates down to near zero. But I'm asking myself, what other feathers, what other arrows do they have in their quiver now that they've printed up unbelievable amounts of money and taken interest rates to near zero? What can they do next? And I don't see what they can do next. Do you? I mean, never say never. Whatever they do will be stupid. But they're acting. The U.S. government is acting exactly the way the Argentine government has been acting for many years.
Right.
And the results are going to be the same. Greatly diminished standard of living with the average American, and probably a lot of violence in the streets. Because, look, a lot of people are under real financial pressure. For instance, one of the most disturbing things is the fact that there are still several million Americans living in apartments that are in forbearance, where their rent, I understand, is being accumulated and they're not having to pay rent. And there are a couple million mortgage holders or mortgagees that aren't having to pay on their mortgage. So what happens when these people have to start paying again and catch up on what they've missed over the last 18 months? It doesn't look good to me. As I look at the markets, the stock market is in a hyper bubble. It's crazier than it was in 2000 and around there, because now much more of the public is involved in it. So it's going to revert to the mean. I don't want to be in the stock market. The bond market is in a hyper bubble. If interest rates just go back to historic average levels, the bond market will fall in half. That's a disaster, because most pension funds are mainly invested in bonds. And of course, real estate floats on a bubble of borrowed money. And when interest rates go back, well, the mortgage I just took out, large mortgage, 2.5%, 30-year fixed. So mortgages go back up to the 6% area, which is kind of like a normal thing over the last 50 years. It can smash the real estate market. Plus, of course, local governments are in a lot of trouble. They'll raise real estate taxes. That's where the rich people are. And you can't avoid paying them, because if you don't pay them,
they take your house.
You'll find out who really owns your house.
Yeah.
Something's very interesting. A lot of people don't think about this, about world population going to 10 and then 15 million and 20 million. And what are we going to do with all these people? The globe is going to be covered with them. But there's something new developing, and that is a falling world population. All over the world, the population is falling, with the exception of sub-Saharan Africa. And give you an idea, by the end of the century, there are reasonable projections that the population of China will have fallen from 1.4 billion back to an incredible 600 million. In other words, what it was before Mao came on. So what's going to happen to all those buildings and all that infrastructure that was built for a billion extra people? What's going to happen? Same thing is going to happen in the US. Of course, unless the US is overwhelmed by migration, which is likely to happen. It's got a serious demographic population decline, in addition to the fact that everybody's drunk. I would say Russia can best be described as a gasoline station with an attached gun store in the middle of a wheat field. So Russia is a non-threat, and it's crazy provoking them. China is a different story. In the long run, I suspect that China is going to break up into at least a half a dozen different countries. Saakashvili made huge improvements in the country, and then what happens? He's kicked out of office. Yep. Pretty much the same thing has happened in Chile. Yep. I mean, Chile, when Allende took over, I mean, he was an avowed and strident Marxist. Then he was assisted in shedding this mortal coil by Pinochet in, 1973. And subsequently, for the next 30 years, Chile boomed. I mean, it was a backward little mining province. It was a nothing, nowhere place. Now, Chile is the most advanced country by far in Latin America. So what do the Chileans do? They elect a communist in the last election. I mean, this is the way it always works. I don't know where you run and hide at this moment, Robert, because the problem is that the U.S. is slipping away right beneath our feet. I call it the U.S. because it used to be America, and America was a totally unique and excellent place. But now America is just an idea, and we're devolving into just another socialist state like 200 others in the world. It's a real pity. When America's gone, where do we go?